day and night. The priest woke up in a sweat, and I can understand his concern. John's Gospels are poetic and symbolic, and are often laden with mysticism and allegory, which can make them difficult at times to understand. In today's Gospel, John tells us of Jesus in the days just before Passover, as he approached Jerusalem and his coming sacrifice. It's clear that Jesus is well aware of the fate that awaited him there. John says that among those who came to worship at the feast were Greeks, which is a term often used in Scripture to refer to anyone who is a foreigner and not a Jew. They had heard of the raising of Lazarus and were anxious to learn more about Jesus and his teaching. Including this seemingly unrelated item in John's Gospel is no accident. Through this incident, John is telling us that Jesus' saving mission went beyond salvation for the Jews, the chosen people of the Old Testament alone. He was showing that Jesus had come to save all who followed him, Jews and Gentiles alike, that his salvation extended to all who elected to be his servants, the new chosen people, those who would be inheritors of the new covenant between God and man. Jesus told Andrew and Philip that the hour had come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Note that previously, knowledge of Jesus' coming death and resurrection, his glorification, was secret, only made known to the closest of Jesus' apostles, and those who earned the secret had always been sworn to silence. But now, as his hour approached, Jesus was sharing that knowledge with all who gathered around him, Jews and Gentiles alike. Jesus tells his audience that his hour had come, saying that like a grain of wheat, he could only be fulfilled through death. But like that wheat, he would live again. He tells his audience to be his disciples. They too must die to the temptation of the world and follow him. He promises that the Father will reward those who do. Jesus reveals his human nature by telling his audience, "I am troubled now," anticipating the pain, suffering, and humiliation that his death would entail. However, he demonstrates his divine nature by rejecting the temptation to avoid that sacrifice. Instead, he prays for triumph over death, his resurrection, and eternal glory in his human nature. In this sacrifice and through the resurrection of the Son, John tells us that the Father is glorified before all. God's infinite power and love for sinful men are thus truly manifested in the triumph of the cross. The coming week will show that Jesus entered Jerusalem in victory, only to be ignominiously murdered within a week. Such is the fickle nature of mankind. This season of Lent is almost complete, and we must ponder what we've accomplished. Lent is the time when we must ask ourselves if things have changed much. We must reflect on whether we, in our time, are still so capricious when it comes to choosing between Christ and the things of this world. We should ponder the fact that Jesus knew well our nature, and yet still chose to make his sacrifice. And while we can never earn that sacrifice, we can at least attempt to honor it. This is Lent, our time to renew our commitment to sacrifice and service to Christ that allows us to call ourselves Christians. None of us is perfect. Don't we often grumble and complain when some cross, small or large, is laid before us and disrupts our calm and contented life? Lent is our time to take it up. Do we find ourselves protesting and demanding our rights when called to compromise our comfort for the benefit of others we consider less worthy? Lent is a time to stop denying this cross too. Isn't that what Jesus did? But reflection and reform shouldn't be limited to just this time or just this season of Lent. In today's gospel, Jesus calls upon us to follow him and be his servant, not just during one season. We must strive to make the changes in our lives permanent, to move to a higher plane of Christianity, growing closer and closer to becoming the people that Christ wants us to be, the people that Jesus suffered and died for us to become. This is the time to begin.